Well, today we have a very wonderful guest. Her name is Penny Peirce. I hope I said it right.
Yes.
And she's an internationally respected clairvoyant, empath, visionary, author, and popular lecturer and trainer. She is one of the early pioneers in the intuition development movement, specializing in intuition development, transformation, inner energy dynamics, expanded perception, and dream work. She advises and coaches business and government leaders, psychologists, scientists, celebrities, and those on a spiritual path about the hidden dynamics of what makes for true success. Penny is the author of 10 books, including Transparency, Leap of Perception, Frequency, and The Intuitive Way. She lives now in Florida, and her website is pennypeirce.com, as you'll see it in the screen when we upload this to our YouTube channel. So thank you so much, Penny, for being with us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, yes, it is.
Thank you. Well, I just want to start our dialogue by asking you when and how did you realize you were clairvoyant?
It it was a process. It wasn't as some kind of dramatic overnight thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was always interested in mysteries, and I read a lot all through high school, and I was interested in psychic phenomena and all of that kind of thing, but I didn't think I could do it, and but then I kept, like, I would go to get readings, and people would tell me that I was good at this, and so it just built up until I had moved to California, and there were classes in clairvoyance development there at the time, and I had no idea you could study this. But I was an artist and a corporate art director, so I was a graphic designer, and I did a lot of writing and imagery work. And so somehow this all fit together. And when I started doing the work with the inner vision, it just felt right. And then I realized that I would do, like, we would do readings on each other, right? And then I realized I was getting images that were real for that person. And boy, after that, I found out it was real, then I was hooked. And I just started studying more and more that way. And then my career shifted out of design into just teaching basically metaphysics and intuition development. And then it just kept evolving and evolving. And
Wow,
it
that
still
sounds
is.
so. Can you share with us what is your idea? What is your experience of intuition? How can we access intuition? Because a lot of people listen to what they think it's intuition, and suddenly it's not, and it's like, oh my
Right,
God. So how
right.
do you, what's intuition and how do you access it?
Well, I think it's a little different, first of all, from being psychic.
Uh-huh.
Psychic is a part of intuition, but intuition is our gift we've had since birth. It's a sensing of things and a reading of things. Almost a lot of times it's unconscious the way we use it. We just sort of know. Um, and that's another word that I use for it, is direct knowing,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't use your left brain and your logic. You don't have to have proof. It just comes in all at once, and it settles with you, and it feels sort of just right. And so you have to start noticing those kinds of experiences and validating them. And often in the early stages, it's a very ordinary, you know, mundane and innocuous things that you're paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to start training yourself to notice, oh, yeah, I just left the house right now a little early for the appointment, and there was an accident. Hey, good girl, like, and but I think that, like, intuition really functions well when you see similarities between things, see how things are connected, because then energy can flow. If you see differences and make polarities, it stops intuitive flow.
When you
And
say it comes, it all comes at once. I mean, like, you're talking about an abstract thought, like comes like a flow of energy with the information in a very abstract way, or
It can, or
it
it can
can?
come very concrete.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Um, if you have a problem and you're asking for some insight or an answer, sometimes you're taking a shower or doing the dishes or something, and then boom, you get, I can do it this way.
Mhm.
That's pretty practical and down to earth, or you start thinking about a person like a client or something. I was thinking last week for about 3 weeks, this one woman was popping into my mind. I finally sent her an email and she said, oh, my mother has cancer and I've been so upset. And so there's often a real reason why you're hooking up to something telepathically. That's intuition also, right?
Would that
Um,
be possible because we're all interconnected somehow through the
yeah,
collective
yeah,
unconscious? So
right.
through our connections to the energy, we are connected to everybody.
That's right. But also, yeah, through the energy. But in the physical world, we think we're all separate. So it slows everything down just because we think it's that way.
Yeah. Mhm.
In the inner world, like when you're in the meditation or in your quiet place inside, there is no time and space. You're in the present moment, and in the present moment, everything is in the present moment with you. So when you go to think about somebody, it doesn't even have time or space to cross. It just goes there instantly. And then people start thinking, you know, like my mother has died, right? And so I think of her all the time, but I don't know whether she thinks of me first or I think of her first,
Mhm.
because I don't think it matters. We connect at the same time, and then I can get information.
That's one of the questions most people have. It's like, I'm thinking about somebody. I wonder if that somebody's thinking of me just because I'm thinking of that somebody. Do you think that it happens all the time or most of the time that when somebody's thinking of somebody else, that somebody else connects to it, or
Right.
not necessarily?
It's like the chicken and egg, right? You're never quite sure who started it
Yeah.
or at what level they started it, you know, um, because it might have come from a higher level that they weren't conscious of in the moment, just a sense, and then it comes in and you think about it and then you think about it again. You think, well, maybe I should call that person.
I have a one person in the audience that was asking me to ask you, like this person said that she used to be very intuitive and connect with intuitions, but something happened that she doesn't know what, that her intuition got blocked. Do you think that that happens for because of any psychological trauma, or why would people disconnect from their intuition?
Well, she's probably not really disconnected from it because she's probably still using it quite a bit all day. But she may have had a certain definition in her mind about what it's supposed to look like or feel like. And yes, I think that there are different reasons why it might go to the back, of your consciousness a little bit. There could be a trauma. It could be suddenly some old fears from a past life might come up about being persecuted for being intuitive, or seeing bad things, or whatever, it would be, or possession, or people have all kinds of odd superstitions and fears about this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And as you use it, some of that will come up, so that you can actually go on and use it because it's something in the way.
Well,
So that can make you shut it down a little bit, but I think also there can be some physical reasons too, like to drugs, or certain things, like even just depression or lack of sleep, things like that disturb the physical rhythms in the body.
mhm. So would intuition be a way to connect to our spiritual dimension? Is it a way to connect to our soul?
I think so.
Mhm.
Um, when you think about it, left brain, right brain. Left brain is very analytical. It's what creates meaning and definition, and it separates things, right? In order to do that, it kind of encapsulates things. When you move to the right brain, and also left brain always has language. Okay. When you move to the right brain, there is no language. It's all at once. Like it's like you're entering the unified field or the imaginal realm, and there's no separate consciousness there. It's all connected, and so you can't talk there. It doesn't work. I think someone said once that the function of the left brain is to interrupt the right brain so that you could actually know something. You have to be able to have a focus in order to bring something into meaning and into this physical world. So when you go to the right brain and you can be quiet, you know, and still and just stay there, all things exist in there, and whatever you need to know will suddenly just kind of float in, and then it'll pop over into the left brain, and then you'll know something. But to access the unified field and the imaginal realm, and which is of course the collective consciousness of all beings, you must go get quiet, and you can enter the quiet with a question or with a curiosity.
Like,
And then like
how can you
it's
be
a
quiet? How can you be quiet if you're entering with a question? Like,
before you
nowadays,
enter, you say, I would really like to know about this. Okay, quiet down
and then
and wait.
and wait.
Yeah.
So like
And
you just sit in meditation and wait until.
yeah, or just even at your desk, just sit and shut your internal dialogue off, you know, and just be quiet and in kind of in a faith, in a sense of knowing that, yes, it's all there. Whatever I need to know, I'm going to be able to, it's going to come to me.
So
Get quiet, and then ideas will pop into your head.
and why do you think that developing intuition would be important for us? Because you were mentioning in your website as part of one of your books as well that we are entering an
Intuition age.
uh-huh.
Exactly.
So
Because it's fast perception and it's accurate perception. And we are entering a time now on the planet, I'm sure everybody feels this, that we have been in it for quite a while, where everything's accelerating, you know, and that means time seems to be speeding up. The amount of time it takes for you to, you know, to have a repercussion from something you do or a result from something you do. Like if you gossip, somebody gossips about you, you know, if you go through some guy goes through a stop sign and you go, oh, that guy, you know, and then in 5 minutes you go through a stop sign and it's like it's not out there anymore. It's all one thing, you know, and we're starting to see that kind of synchronicities and immediate results. And so everything's so fast, and it's causing our bodies to speed up. And so that affects a lot of things. It affects perception. And that's one of my favorite things that I'm always been interested in. But what happens then is, because the left brain is linear, it's like cause and effect thinking. A, B, C, D, you get E, you know, or past, present, future. It's all in a line with separate spaces in between the things, you know, sort of like gaps. All right. So it makes it kind of slow. Logic is slow. It's like you have to do all these steps and you have these bits and bytes and stuff. And so, you know, the information age is based on left brain perception and logic and analytical stuff and science. And it's fine for implementation and figuring things out, but it's not fast enough for the higher understanding. When you go into direct knowing and intuition and relax into it, you have knowing of all things, kind of all interconnected all at once, how everything works. And it's not logical. It's like an impression. You know, it just comes into you like a pattern. And then you feel it, become it actually, and know it by being it, if that makes sense. And then you can talk about it and dissect it and do all the left brain stuff. But you get everything from the intuition first. So anyway, the intuition age, I think, is we are transforming into it, and out of this slow reality of everything being separate from each other into something where we're part of all of it, large interconnected reality in the present moment. Everything's available.
But how can you tell that we are entering this intuitive era?
Well, you can
What are
start to
the
see
signs?
symptoms of it in the world. For instance, when we go into it, we start to feel more interconnected with each other. Well, look what the internet has done.
Mhm.
We are immediately intimate with a lot of people all over the world, separated by space, even by time zones, and all that. And suddenly there's a collective consciousness, which is part of unity, right? And then we start to get the idea that there's kind of a group mind too, that we could go into this collective mind that has a great deal of wisdom. If we want to merge into it and ask a question, we'll get it. We'll get all kinds of information, and we come back to our individual selves and we can use it. But so that group mind and people starting to do a lot of projects together, this, I call it the convening, of a lot of people are starting to show up on the same wavelength, on the same frequency, and they each have a puzzle piece and it's fitting together. And there are projects and things starting to happen out of that. So that's like one symptom, let's call it. But there are many, and part of it is um, the present moment is becoming quite um powerful. It's like the past and future are swallowed up inside this huge present moment, and they don't really exist anymore. Instead, you have different frequencies of consciousness. So all the things we remember from our past are just different frequencies of different realities. There's no future anymore. There are potential realities of different frequency levels that we can choose, and we can move into them as soon as we can think of them. You
So,
don't have to go line like this to get there.
so what's happening in the world right now, not only
Yeah.
because of the coronavirus, but
Yeah.
all the consequences of it, that we are sharing all as the whole humanity is sharing one thing at the
Right.
same time. In what way this is the piece of this whole idea that you are conveying to us of changing into a new age,
Mhm.
of intuitive age? uh, why do we have to go through this, or what's happening with this in relation to where we're headed?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, as awful as the COVID is and the suffering people have had from it, it is also, first of all, it is uniting people around the world because we're all suffering the same thing. It's a global experience. We have never had that. We've had world wars, we've had 9/11, where awful things, but it was never all over the world the same thing. So that is demonstrating collective consciousness in a new way, even more than the internet has. All right, so that's one thing. Secondly, it's forcing us to not be distracted by running around all over the place and causing us to have to stay in a smaller space and go inside more. We're bored. What can we do? Well, hey, meditate, read, do things that you love, discover more of yourself. It's more personal. And and I think that part of this process is that those of us who are cooped up like this, we are starting to have the emotions that are down at I call it the bottom of the bucket, the deep things, are surfacing. Our, our wounds, our subconscious fears, things we never wanted to look at. Somehow, this is bringing these things to the surface so that we can clear them. And we wouldn't have looked at them before because we had a lot of distractions, and
Yes.
we didn't have to. But now it's the perfect time to let it come up. And I hope, we're learning that it's okay, that it's actually a positive step in the right direction. because we have to clear our clutter, of the old fear-based ideas and beliefs, and even our old story about who we think we are. Like, well, I don't do this because this happened to me in my childhood, you know. Um, eh, let it go. Who are you now? What's real now? Um, Without limitations, without the old left brain description of limitations of your life and all that. So a lot, we're just evaporating a lot of things away from us and becoming more clear, which
So
I write about a lot in Transparency, right? That's what's happening. We're starting to become more transparent.
we'll get to that, but I want to
Yeah.
ask you. I want to ask you about um, like at this point, it doesn't matter whether the virus was lab created or not, because it seems that we as humanity needed to go through something like this in order for us to change the pace at which we
Yes.
were living. Uh, my question would be, do you think that uh, even if the people behind the creation of this virus or whatever, um, they are behind it because of power or whatever reason there is, do you think that they respond to energies, higher energies beyond their own consciousness, that to make them go through this process to create this thing for humanity?
I don't really feel like there are any accidents, and I don't know if people created it intentionally. I think conspiracy theories sometimes are just another distraction from having to face things, But I think you're right that it doesn't matter, because this is a wonderful, amazing solution to get us to go in, to get us to bond, to bring out the fear levels. A lot of people, I'm not wearing a mask. You can't make, it's like there's some issue in there about being dominated or something, that they might need to look at. But yeah, so I think that even if somebody created it as some, mischievous or evil or whatever idea, that's on purpose. I think everything's kind of on purpose. It's like what's going on in the United States politics that is showing up this incredible polarity that comes when there's a great deal of fear and narcissism and ego involved in something, and how it distorts reality. And it's just blatant, at least to a lot of people, that, it's like, wow, how could it, within 3 years, this happened like this? That's amazing. So
But
that's all part of it too.
and now you are bringing to us this idea of living in transparency, which I believe it resonates with a high level of the intuitive age.
Yeah.
But we are not there yet
No.
as mass as the mass population. So what do you think it needs to happen for people to connect into the flow of entering this intuitive age? Because we're headed there, but we are completely here still in this world of chaos and fear and rage and war and all those very low vibrations. So
Yes.
how can we do this transition? What needs to happen?
Well, let's see. I think one thing is that people need to realize that they are not their ego, but they are the soul. And they have to want to be the soul. They want to have to bring their true self, their spiritual self, into the body and live inside the body as the soul. And that's what I call your home frequency.
Mhm.
But and you got to want that, because that is your true self. It is the most harmonious, beautiful, wise, loving, clear, genius sense of self. And when you start to feel it happening, you just start loving yourself. You love this, and then you see it in other people, and you really like them, and you see who they are, what they're capable of, their positive side, you know. Um, So you've got to want that and realize that you can get it. And then the process of having that experience means you got to get rid of the fear and the old beliefs and all the locked down, contracted ideas and emotions and explanations and excuses and all that that we hold as humans. And that is the spiritual path, really. You know,
But
that is the work we all have to do.
um, that's true. But not everybody is ready to enter the spiritual path because maybe they don't resonate with
I know. So we don't
the
have to
way.
do it all at once.
Uh-huh.
There are waves of people who are getting clear, who've been at it for years.
Yes.
And then they work with the people around them, and then those people get clear, and then they pull in the next level around them. And so, we're all working on this together but I think that you can't go outside of yourself to try to help others, but you become magnetic,
Mm-hmm.
like a magnetic center of clarity. And then the people who come around you start to get that, and then they get that way, and then they pull in more. And so it's kind of like ripples and waves that start unifying things. And it's happening not just from one place, it's happening all over the world with these little ripple things coming out and overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to happen faster than we think. And you can always offer help and insight, but you don't have to save anybody, right?
That's right.
If they're ready, they'll hear you.
Mm-hmm.
If not, somebody else will come along and say something and they'll hear them, but it will happen.
Now, part of being human and coming as even if it's an illusion, as an individual separated self, this experience comes along with an ego, and we are accustomed to identify ourselves with our ego, and we don't know what the soul is because we have been conditioned and taught to be and move around our desires and move around what our ego and our personality
Yeah.
means to each of us individually. So what do you think is the first step for people who are wrapped up in their sense of isolated self and personality and ego? What's the first step for them to realize that they can awake to their spiritual self?
Well, I don't, maybe it's a little bit of education so that they understand that there's a difference between the left and right brain, between the ego and soul, and they are feeling states, right? That they're experiential states of being. And so if you can get a list of ideas about what the ego feels like versus the soul feels like. For instance, the soul never says should, you know and it has that sense of expansive, warm, feeling of frictionless kind of flow, and the ego is just stuck, and it's all about rules and having to do everything perfectly, or I'm wrong, and and shame and all this stuff. um, and we always want the connection with others, we want love. But in the soul based thing, like, we are love. We don't need any more. We just need to stay in it and share it and play in it with other people. And um, so I think we have to learn the difference between two states of being. That's why when I help people get into their home frequency, I often have them go into and talk about their worst possible scenario. Like, if nothing went your way, if you really had bad luck and failure, everything, awful, awful stuff, and talk about it and get it, and then your body kind of goes, ugh. And then I say, put it on the shelf and come back to neutral, then get your best possible scenario. And you're lucky, everybody helps you, blah, 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 and it gets bigger and you can handle it and it's normal. And I say, can you feel the difference in the body state? Then we have them go back to the worst possible and go back into that and contract, put it back, go back to the best one, expand. And you rock between those two for a little while until you go, oh, I don't want to go back to that negative one. It doesn't feel good. All right, now there's a difference between your two choices. You don't have to go back to that. Stay in the one you like. memorize the feeling state of it, choose it, remember it. If you get back a little and backslide into the other one, remember, oh, that's the one I don't like. Okay, I'm coming back to what I do like. And this is just building a new habit of making good choices, And so I think that's what we have to do, is have a knowledge that there are two states and we can be in one or in another one.
Okay,
It's
so
up to you.
that's very right on, and hopefully, while we have this time to think deeper about our lives and the way we are headed, more and more people are starting to really take a look inside and ask themselves these questions.
Right.
So
Right.
transparency, this is a very important part of the transformation we are undergoing. Uh, what can you tell us about what does it mean to live transparent in a way, in a very transparent way? Because what I've noticed is that people don't like to be transparent because of fear to
Yeah.
be hurt,
Yeah.
fear to be judged, fear to be punished, or whatever. So there's a lot of fear because we cannot take truth. We cannot really
Right.
digest truth for what it is.
Right.
So, what can you tell us about your book on transparency and how to manage it
Mm.
properly?
Well, I'll start with the little story that got me going on it, which was when I moved to Florida from San Francisco, which I had been there for a long time. And it was very easy to be spiritual there because everybody's kind of that way. And I came to Florida where it's very more, it was hard to find people like that. It's like, and there were more people who were um, very conservative, let's say, in religion and politics. And I felt that, I thought I better be careful of what I say, because I could get in trouble here. And then I said, well, at least I can travel up the East Coast. I could go to Europe more. I could, it's easy to get there from here. And I could expand my world. And a voice in my head said, it's not about expansion, it's about exposure.
Mhm.
And then it's told me, just be a clear space in the field of Florida. Meant just be in your home frequency vibration. You don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to do anything. Just be who you are. Let people see you. If they're on your wavelength, they'll see you. If they're not on your wavelength, they won't even see you. So don't be afraid. Just be authentic, you know, and yeah, and don't hide, basically. Okay, I was so that's what I did, and I really learned a lot about it. It was true. Um, so I think that exposure idea is interesting. It's like, go ahead and allow people to see who you are. Even we have made our mistakes. Every human being has done something they're ashamed of or blame themselves for. But it's like we all make mistakes, so let yours be there just like you let everybody else's be there. And then I learned that when you give other people space to be who they are, all of who they are, you give yourself the same space to be all of who you are, because it's connected, right? So when you are exposed and open and clear, you can see other people, you can see through the surface of other people and understand who they are with their vulnerabilities, all of their ideas. It's all there anyway, you know. And but who are you anyway? Do you want to be a compassionate person or just hate people, you know? Yeah. So I choose to be compassionate, and then I can see through a lot of things that I used to not be able to see through now. So there's something here about trust, right? I call it radical trust in the book, of just really trusting that the way everything comes to you and the way everything moves and who you are and what you think of to say is going to be just right. Relax. And so trust, um, It's a lot about allowing and saying what you need to say and letting people say what they need to say and noticing when you contract maybe out of an old pain and then you go, no, wait a minute, I don't need to be that way, and just relax and open again. So the more you do that, and the more you clear away that clutter we talked about before of the fear-based ideas and belief systems and stories and stuff like that, the more clear your aura is. It's almost like you don't have anything around you. You're just uncluttered. And who are you? Well, you can be whatever you want to be, have any story you'd like to have, and you can change it whenever you want, or you can just be a point of view, a big ball of pure light, that affects the field around you out of light. It doesn't matter, but it's so simple then. You become extremely simple and humble. And what I mean by humility there is not to be less than anyone else, but to be truthful in the moment about who you are in any given moment.
Well,
You
that's
know,
amazing. That's beautiful. And how long have you been in Florida?
uh, 5 or 6 years now, I think.
Wow. And
Yeah.
have you noticed any raising of vibration in the place where you are, in terms of, I mean, something's happening very strong in the
Mhm.
world right now. Uh,
Yeah.
Whether we are conscious of it or not, it's happening. So I
Yes.
was wondering, in this 5 or 6 years that you are there, have you seen any changes of being able to have a little more openness from people to these kinds of things?
I I don't try to talk to people about it really, unless I get a feeling that they're kind of interested or they're in a group or something that's interested. But I have found more synchronicity with meeting people who are already at that level, and then I can talk to them. So it's like a little more um, emergence of that kind of person out of my field. Do you know what I mean? They're just showing up more.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to attract them or, convince them about anything.
they just they just appear,
They're just
because of
there. And they're all ages too. Some
yeah.
retired people
Mhm.
who are quite conscious, and so it's interesting. Yeah.
Now you have a book about perception as well, and
Mm.
my question about perception is, how were you able to know the difference between perceiving from the ego or perceiving from the soul?
Well, I think it goes back to that contrast of states of being. And then once I start looking at what the ego does, which is a very over identification with the left brain,
Mhm.
it's right. You start to think you are the left brain.
Exactly.
And that all the rules of that are there, that you have to defend yourself and be on top and superior and all that. And the other side is so much less effortful. It's so easy and fluid and magical.
Well,
You know, so
the ego's part of us seems to be the most familiar for most people, because
Well, yeah, we're brought up to feel that we're separate and we have to protect ourselves and get money and do all these, powerful things so that we won't be vulnerable.
Mhm,
But when you're the soul, you're not vulnerable.
exactly, exactly
You're
right.
open, you're sensitive, you're receptive,
Uh-huh.
and but you don't feel like the world's against you because there's no world out there. It's all you. It's the big you. So when things aren't set up as polarized and opposite, and there's an outside world that's huge and you're a little tiny person and this big world is going to come and get you, uh, then you don't have to act like the ego. And it is going away. It is going to go away. We're going to have a shift of identity, and that's part of transformation
Do you
you
think
know
that, has this ever happened before in another age, that you, I mean, I don't know if
I
this is relevant,
don't
but
think
I wonder
so,
if,
but
as,
I think certain people who are like, go into priesthoods or higher initiatory, like shamans and like in ancient Egypt and things where you would be in temples and you'd get initiation. Yes, those people get it. You know, there have always been spiritual leaders who have gone through those shifts and understand what that's all about. It's not a new thing, let's say.
So right now, since we are in this transition sort of thing, what else can we do to help this transition, to help us go through this transition to awaken to our true self?
Mm. Uh, well, the reason I wrote these books really was to try and make a description of this kind of roadmap of what is happening and you know what the processes are, um, and give people exercises and experiences of it. So it's a big topic, but I think learning about it, that's why I say the books, learning about what is happening and that it's not scary and bad, that we're headed for evolution here, you know, and so that's part of it. And then um, practicing being in your home frequency and choosing that state that we talked about rather than sliding into the contracted state and noticing, oh, I'm in my ego again. Okay, I don't need to do that. Okay, let me come back and be the way I want to be. Uh, and just repeatedly choosing and working from this kind of new criteria
Mhm.
that are more love-based and unity-based criteria. And and it's bit by bit, but it's also being kind, you know, and telling other people how beautiful they are or how wonderful they are or something, you know, give compliments and and be a model, role model, I think, of positivity, but not the fake kind. Do you know what I mean? It's like get yourself aligned so that you really feel like you're just so happy to be alive, truly.
And I imagine that with all these things that are happening, that changes, the openness, people are going to be able to know the difference between somebody that's genuine and somebody that is a fake. Eh,
That's absolutely true. Because as you become more transparent,
Yeah.
you start to feel the solid places in people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are open and you go toward another person and you hit this feeling of contraction and judgment. And then you start to feel, wait, did I do something wrong? No, it's that they feel they did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you feel is what they're feeling because it's the same. So you are picking up on data,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And it's not about you necessarily. It's about, you know, it's about everybody, you know, in that moment, in a way.
Yeah, but exactly. Learning how to be impersonal is very difficult because most people take everything personally. A bad look or a word or a rejection. Everything's personal and not understood as a projection of the other or a situation that if you don't attach to, it's not going to bother you.
Right.
So it seems like there is a lot of work we need to do, but since it's work and it's inner work, which has a apparent high cost. Uh,
Well, yes. And but when you start to learn, like I have this thing, the law of correlation, for instance,
mhm,
so that whatever's happening inside you is happening in your bigger world, what we used to call the outside world. So inside you, it's a thought or a feeling, but in your reality bubble, it's an event, you know, or somebody acting that way in your reality, you know, a person. Um, they're the same. And the game, we make a game out of it, you know, say, well, okay, why am I thinking this? And why did that accident happen right in my face? What was going on there? Oh, I have something in my mind right now that's like that. Or, you know, in a relationship, if there's some kind of polarization going on, they both have the same underlying issue, but are dealing with it in opposite ways. Now, if you make a game out of saying, well, what would that be? You know, and then go and find it. And then you get, aha.
yeah. that's the moment we want to get to, the aha moment, as they say.
Yeah, well, that's the fun part. It's like a mystery that you solve or something, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. I think it's very, I say a lot, you know, that self-entertainment is a very high state
Mhm.
because, you know, we need to enjoy our lives. We need to make a game of things, of learning, of paying attention, of noticing what we notice, and then using that and finding out why and go down a few layers to see what's inside that outside thing, what caused it in the first place.
It's
Because I do believe there's always what I call an inner energy blueprint
Mhm.
that starts in the thought and emotional and energetic world that acts as a, you know, a blueprint for what's going to come into the physical.
Mhm.
So if you want to change something in your physical reality, go back to the inner blueprint and fix that first, which means change emotions, clear blockages, and so
So,
forth.
what have you noticed about the new generations, that the kids that are coming into this world that have to face so many ecological crises and so many difficult situations? And they are like, like Greta Thunberg, or so many young kids that
Yeah.
are putting themselves out there, and saying, and letting us know that the way we have lived is very dysfunctional, and that we're living in a
Yeah.
very difficult world to live in. So what is your sense about these new generations that are coming to this world?
Right. I've watched it. You know, I think there are several soul groups that have been incarnating, you know, early on. What do they call it? The indigo children or something. Um, a certain years, a certain kind of soul groups were coming in to the body. Um, but these are groups that have not been in the physical world very often. They've been in the mental zone, a lot of them. And the first group that came in, I think they're kind of disruptors. You know, they would get angry and you know, they were trying to change things. You know, they didn't like it, and uncomfortable. The next level that came in started to bring in a great level of compassion and higher knowledge. And in the mental plane, remember, everything is a group mind. There is no separation by time and space much. It's instantaneous like that. So these kids are used to that. They don't like slow things. They want like video games, blah, 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 you know, everything's interconnected, and um, they need each other. They can't be alone. They like to have in groups and gangs, you know, the group thing happening. Um, but I think that when they start to get themselves clear, because I think coming into the physical world, they have to go through the lower emotional realm of the astral plane, or whatever you want to call it, where there's a lot of upset and subconscious fear and blocks. And they don't like that. They try to jump over it, you know, and ignore it. But then they have to deal with it once they're in the physical world. So they have to learn how to deal with feelings and emotion and develop their intuition, which is like a continuum through their whole body. They can't jump over a chakra. They can't not have some kind of experience. But they're staying up in this kind of like cell phone, you know, mental thing a lot. And I think they need to drop into the heart, into the feelings, have compassion for others. But then the new groups that came in are all compassion.
Mhm.
And even the autistic kids, I think, are almost the most compassionate in a way. So they have just covered themselves over with this little plexiglass shield in a way, so that they can bring their presence into the physical world and hold that vibration without being bothered too much by it. And then as the world evolves to a certain frequency, they'll be the leaders. You know, they'll be the ones who have all the clarity. And now, as the group mind forms with these kids, they're going to bring through solutions together for cancer and the energy crisis and all kinds of world problems, because they already know how to work together. You know, so it's going to evolve, and but we need to help them, I think, get down a little more,
Yeah.
you know.
So how long do you think it'll take to anchor this energy of the intuitive age? Will it be a couple hundred years? Will
Oh,
be
no, 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 no,
not
no.
that much?
It's already happening. It's
Uh-huh.
already happening. And I think it will get to a point, not everybody has to do it. It'll get to a certain critical mass point, and then it'll just catch on, just like the internet, or, suddenly caught on, and now it's like the reality.
Mhm.
Um,
So
I think that, for instance, with politics, I really do think that the narcissism and dictatorship kind of consciousness that has arisen around the world is a way of pulling out and being able to see consciously what the ego is doing, and also to see that it's almost prehistoric. It's so slow and stupid, and it's not working.
mhm.
It's way behind the times, and all the young people are getting like, who would think that way, so we're going to start to see that way of thinking and being fail, just because the energy's too high for it to work. It can't keep up.
Yeah. So it is naturally going to, it's already falling.
Yes.
It's not only like politics, I think economics and
Yeah.
religion and education, they are
Right.
kind of all falling apart because they are part of the old structure.
They're
And
too stuck in form, in old form that can't evolve, and it's not fluid. It's
yeah,
not intuitive.
yeah. So it's going to happen naturally
Yes.
that this is going to kind of fall down and we're going to have to rise like the phoenix, like from the ashes, we're going to have to come and
It'll evolve naturally into
something
new
new.
forms. It's not going to be like a big catastrophe thing. Although I do think there will be groups of people who will be dying,
Hmm.
like in COVID. It's like some people are going to feel, and this is all very unconscious. It's no blame here. It's more that some people who are very connected to all their belief systems, and that they can't imagine a world without all that. It's just the void, and it's frightening that they can't change out of it.
Hmm.
And as the energy gets higher and higher and higher, it's going to be more uncomfortable for them. And so at some level, they'll say, I'm just going to leave now and come back later, in another life. And it's not a tragedy.
No,
It's
it's a
just
process. It's just a
it's
process.
a kind of a separating of I call it a bifurcation of almost like two planets. One's a lower vibration and one's a higher vibration, and they'll be there together, but you won't know the difference
And
if
this
you're in those groups.
exactly, and I think this is this moment in time is such a blessing and a huge opportunity for most people to open up and change from the old and embrace the new, which is a higher vibration, which is what
Yeah,
most people are looking for.
right.
And so
Yeah, it's higher and it's easier and it's more fun, and you know it's yeah, it's easier.
it's easier and more
Hmm.
loving. I mean, most people,
Right.
what do we want? What are we looking for in life? To be happy, to find love and be loved, and we have lived in the age of darkness in a way that has completely separated us from reaching what we want, which is love. We all want that, and
Right.
I guess that by raising to higher vibration, as you mentioned, is going to be easier to access to that kind of love.
Well, to remember that we are love. We never lost it. It's just that we had these coverings over us that kept us from remembering and feeling that.
Hmm.
So when you are love, you don't need any more. You know, you just want to, like I said before, just share it and play with it, with your friends, and you know,
Enjoy it.
give it away, whatever. Um,
That's beautiful. Well, um, I don't know if there's any message that you want to give the audience as to where we are now and where we're headed and what can we do, and then let us know how they can connect with you. I'm gonna put your social media links in the video.
okay.
But is there anything else that you want to add?
Um, just one like little announcement. I don't know for the people in South America, or maybe it doesn't even matter, because I was going to come down to Brazil and do this luminarium Congreso Luminarium.
Mhm.
But now they're doing it virtually. So it's going to be I think it's in September or October, but they can find out about it online. It's all about the new consciousness. So it should be pretty good. So there's that. Um, what I noticed today was I had forgotten to do, like, I used to do chakra meditations where I would clean and open and balance my chakras and ground and send the energy out and do all this stuff. And I started to do that today and realized that the COVID thing of being restricted and just going about this routine during the day, it's like in my house, I go to the computer, go get lunch, go here, go back here, that everything had gotten very dull. And I decided to start doing this clean out on my body energetically. And oh my gosh, nothing was open. It was all like, it wasn't connected into my spine. Nothing was really flowing in the other, higher consciousness way. So I decided to do that. And I think anything like that now, when we're so restricted, we can get so bored and kind of dull that we have to like run energy.
Mhm.
So that's one thing, but also, I don't know, just try to stay out of negativity. Take care of yourself, protect your family, wear your mask, do what you need to do to stay healthy.
Don't
And,
listen to the news.
yeah, don't, yeah. And just watch the news as kind of a symptom of how the process is unfolding. And
Mhm.
don't get cynical because it's going to shut your energy down again.
Yeah.
So we've got to monitor our energy right now, and this is important to stay the way you want to feel
Mhm.
and add that to the world,
Yeah.
because other people are suffering
Very.
and scared and contracted, and and they don't know how to clear their negativity. So we need to help that when we can.
Even little even children. I've seen children going through a lot of stress because of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So it is amazing that they are so receptive to the energy and how it's being affected to
Right.
them.
Right. I suppose it might be hard for them to grasp the global thing,
Mhm.
that, but yet again, maybe they know the feeling. I don't know, but yeah, it could be very stressful.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that clearing thing that you suggested is very, very helpful. And if we can
yeah.
take this time maybe to do that more often and be connected and connect to our
Hmm.
feelings and the energy and whatever, just
Right.
flow with the energy now. It's very
I have
important.
a meditation on my SoundCloud page that's the Diamond Light Body, where you have your Diamond Light self step into you from behind and take over
Oh,
and clear you. It's a very quick thing, but people are welcome to go find that and give it away, use it, whatever, because it's very powerful.
that's great.
Um,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
I will put your SoundCloud as well so people know how
Okay.
to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge or wisdom and your experience with whoever is going to whoever has listened to live and whoever is going to come to the video later on. And appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you asking me.
That's
Yeah.
I'm glad we connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
you, and let's keep up the good work and help.
Yeah.
Here's helping a lot of people, whether they know it or not.
Good. Anytime you want to talk, just let me know.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Take
All
it.
right.
Have a great day. Take care.
Uh, Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye bye.